Hey guys, Steve here from PC Budget Solutions back, and I want to try to shoot a video here that talks about my name. What should your budget be? What can your budget do? So, this is what I have going on today. I have an $800 build, a $1,300 build, a $1,900 build, and my personal rig, which was $1,800, and I am doing a 4-way head-to-head benchmark to bring you guys this video, and let's find out what is a sweet spot for 1080 gaming. Now, this build would run you about $850 roughly. I priced everything out in my fiance's old rig, and as you can see here are all the specs: the 4690K, the MSI Z97 board, Hyper 212 Evo, 8 gigs of RAM, 240 gig SSD, 1 terabyte hard drive, EVGA power supply, NZXT 340 case, and I purchased brand new RX 480. But roughly $850 for a rig like this, with used parts and a brand new graphics card. So this is the base system. Let's take a look at what else we can do. Now, you guys should be used to seeing this one. This is the brand new i5 Kaby Lake build. I'm really not going to go too far into this system because you guys have seen it twice already. But the main difference is the MSI GTX 1070 Gaming 8 edition. That's basically the only difference. So this one tops out at $1,300. Now let's go over my fiance's new rig, and then we'll cover my rig as well. And then her system is an AMD Ryzen 7 1700X, an NZXT X60 cooler, a Gigabyte B350 Gaming 3 motherboard, 32 gigs of DDR4, 3000 megahertz RAM, a Crucial MX 300 1 terabyte SSD, 4 Corsair SP140 LED fans, EVGA G2550 YE plus gold power supply with cable mod cables, a Corsair 460X, and EVGA 1080 for the win. And then we have my rig. You guys are probably used to this. Now, none of the other ones are overclocked, but my system's already been overclocked. I had to undo all the other ones for selling reasons. But my system has the Ryzen 5 1600 overclocked, the Corsair H100i, ASRock B350 Pro 4 board, 16 gigs of RAM. I'm not sure if you guys know, I have a 960 Evo NVMe SSD with a terabyte storage SSD. I have 5 SP120s, same power supply and case as my fiance. I have the GTX 1080 Hybrid, so that's kind of the main differences. Let's take a look at the benchmark, shall we? So all my test results are at 1080p. Since you guys seem to really like that, I ran the highest settings and the second highest settings on each benchmark. Now, starting with Ashes of the Singularity, I think these results were exactly what you guys expected. The R7 1700X with the GTX 1080 squeaked out a small win, followed by my personal system that was slightly overclocked, a very small amount behind that one. The Kaby Lake i5 with the GTX 1070 scored maybe 3 or 4% behind my rig, and the Devil's Canyon i5 with the RX 480 scored a decent amount, around maybe 15-20% behind that. So no shocker there. Let's take a look at For Honor and see how that went. So kind of the same story here. The R7 1700X did a little bit better on high settings, but a tad worse on extreme. Honestly, within margin of error, really wouldn't be too worried about that. The Kaby Lake i5 with the GTX 1070 doing really well, would probably do well with 144 Hz 1080p, and even the Devil's Canyon i5 with the RX 480 did very well. Even on extreme settings, it still ran over 60 FPS. So that's looking to be a very, very good value. Let's take a look at Ghost Recon Wildlands next. Now, again, we're still seeing some separation on the bottom tier. The top tier, they're almost identical. They're very similar rigs on both very high and ultra settings at 1080p. The Kaby Lake i5 with the GTX 1070 scored about, I would go to say 10% roughly, 10 to 12% behind the GTX 1080. That is to be expected. And the RX 480 still delivering a playable experience at 1080p. The game even recommends not to run ultra settings unless you're running a top tier GPU. So 58.76 FPS, perfect for 1080p 60 Hz. Now, let's take a really quick look at 3D Mark Time Spy. This is the one thing about synthetic gaming benchmarks. They generally deliver a very clear picture of what true performance for the level it delivers. So the 1080s are performing almost identical with a little bit of CPU horsepower under the R7 1700X over my CPU. The GTX 1070 performing actually around 20% behind the GTX 1080s, with the RX 480 also posting 20 to 25% behind the 1070. That is generally where these graphics cards companies state the power difference between the two different tiers. Now let's take a look at the value. Let's look at the performance per dollar and let's see who wins. So looking at the graph here, you actually want to be lower. Lower is better in this scenario because it's dollars spent on the system per FPS. What I did was I took the total frames per second on all 5 benchmarks, divided by 5 to get an average. Then I took the system cost, the total system cost, and divided by that average. So obviously 3D Mark and all that stuff might throw off a little bit, but it's clear that the used build with the brand new RX 480 is a clear winner in this scenario, followed by the Kaby Lake i5 with the GTX 1070. The 1070 being a very great value purchase on the high end, and then our Ryzen builds. Now, keep that in mind, for the Ryzen builds, we spent extra money on water cooling, extra money on fans, extra money on cables from Cable Mod. So not something a lot of people would budget whenever you don't have an unlimited sources of money to spend. So let's find out. So what was the reason for all this? What is the conclusion? So the purpose of this video was to get back to what this channel is all about: PC budget solutions. And that is, when you have a certain budget, how do you deliver a solution? If your budget's over $2 grand or $3 grand, of course you can get a computer like what me and my fiance use. You factor in all the peripherals and the monitors. I mean, they're not cheap. We use them for gaming and editing. But we really got to figure out needs versus wants. If you don't have a budget, $2 to $3 grand, if your budget's $800 or $1,300, you have to decide what you need and then what you want. You got to be able to deliver the graphical and CPU horsepower for your projects or your games, whatever have you. So that's really what this video was about. But switching real quick, is it possible episode 2? I'm curious if you guys are interested in this. I'm going to grab some hardware from 2008. I'm going to do multiple graphics cards from 2008. I'm going to be overclocking, and I'm going to be running the latest games that can run on DirectX 10 hardware. And I'm going to see, is it possible to game on hardware that's nearly 10 years old? So I really want to thank you guys, because I took some feedback you guys gave me about overclocking in 1080p, and you guys are loving it. I've never gotten this many views so quickly, so thank you very much for that. Leave comments in the section below with feedback or next videos or upcoming videos you want me to see. If you want to see any of the hardware purchased for this video, look in the video description below. But this is Steve from PC Budget Solutions, and I will see you guys later on down the road.